I'm keeping my eyes on you. I bet you think I don't know nothing but singing the blues.
Yo, Monica, yo, spell your Mississippi, spell your Mississippi right now.
You can take my L, my I, and my letter I, my letter I. Humpback, I. Okay. So we're talking about steps, which my mama didn't allow me to do. However, I did watch a number of them in the schoolyard at Heston.
Your mom worked at the school.
Yes, she was.
Mm.
She was 5'0" for Heston. She definitely was in the school. She was a school attendant before, after, and during. So she was in the schoolyard, she was in the lunchroom, she was in the hallway, she was everywhere.
So you were not able to be like breaking it down, spelling Mississippi,
Only
cucaletta. You could take my M.
only in my brain. Mama said no and it meant no.
Oh, she deprived you of some important years of development in elementary
Be
school.
like important. You have to know your education, not you bringing it down with the cuculator. But like what? How can that enrich your life?
Right.
So no, she definitely, when she was in the schoolyard, and you'll hear, because it would bounce off the wall, so you can hear somebody, as soon as they say, you can take my M, here she goes. She was like, what? Now you know your mama don't like to do them fresh tale songs. That's what she called them, fresh tale songs. So I just used to be like, all right, well I know I couldn't do them, but once we got on the block and she was upstairs way in the back room and I double checked, I would go first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you go first.
Go
Yeah,
first.
yeah, because everybody gets their turn. You know, yo, Monica, spell your Mississippi,
That's
and then
right.
it goes. It could be like 20 people.
That's right.
5 rows of 5 girls.
Yo, Mary, yo, spell Mississippi right now.
You can take my hands up high, my feet in place between my legs with my feet in your face. Take my L, my I, and my cucaletta I, cucaletta I. Hump back.
So we were speaking the other day. You know how you said you had went online and looked it up, and it was like it was crooked letter.
Crooked letter.
So our cuculator is supposed to have been crooked letter.
I never knew. You know what? I never knew that it was supposed to be crooked letter. I just thought it was just like something that we made up and Philly people made up because Mississippi is fun to say, and you know.
Philly, we put our
But-
ultimate twist on stuff.
I remember I was watching an episode of Alice. Remember Alice? With, like Mel's Diner and Flo. You know, kiss my grits. You know, all of that. Well, and one time Flo broke into an M-I, crooked letter, I, crooked letter, and I'm like, what the hell is she saying? She went, what? How does she get on Mississippi? You know, why is she
That's
saying
ours.
That's ours. And why is she saying crooked letter?
But see,
What the hell
she
is
was
that?
doing her own version.
And that's the proper version because it's actually like a real thing, a song or something that probably Mississippi people made up so they could spell it.
Then when it came to
And
Philadelphia,
it came all the way to Philadelphia and it turned into cucaletta.
we put our
Cucaletta.
own spin and spice on it. That's what Philly do. We put our own spice on it and spin. So next thing you know, and then when you say crooked letter, I'm like, well, what part of the song is that? What part is crooked letter?
Right.
Where did that come from? So then I thought, like, that's the association. It should have been properly crooked letter, but you know.
Right, and I've been on YouTube and all over the internet for weeks, and for like at least 2 weeks now, trying to find, you know, like an African American version of step. I don't even know what other black people call it, because I know that, you know, other people do this, because this is a universal thing.
Right.
And I cannot find anybody else. You know, I find like little kids, usually little white kids in the South, M-I, crooked letter, I, you know, that's how I spell Mississippi. It's a real cutesy thing, but I'm like, where's that
You looking for the
where
urban,
that
you
gully
looking for the whole line of
crunk.
girls up there. See,
You
Mama?
right.
Mama, I'm not going to go there.
Right.
I'm not going to go there.
But there's none of that. there was like several versions of it. People
Right.
used to make up their own thing, and they go, you can take my M, my I, my kukuleta. And then it was like another version, at least one other version that I know that is like so raunchy. It was like
the graphic version.
you can take my hands up high.
They doing the twist and the twine and the grind and gyrating and all that.
Right, and it was like, where did they get this? Was like in elementary school. Where do you get this from?
Right,
because there wasn't no internet, and
right.
did you get this from? Didn't get it from TV. There was no cable.
When I went on the internet to try to look this up, they said that it was like a cultural. It's called chants. It wasn't like cheers. It was like a cultural chants, and they said that it was passed down from generation to generation. Children from ages 7 to 12, and it's usually a chant or a dance that's done when children are not attended. So in essence, they're saying when we're outside, when you know your mama is nowhere near, you go ahead and do it because you know if she catch you, you're gonna get it. So I was just like, wow, that is so true.
Right.
When children are unattended, that's when they usually do it, and they say at the disapproval of parents.
Well, I don't think anybody would approve of kukuleta, twerking it down to the ground and all of that. But with the historical aspect, when you think about it, it's kind of like almost like ham bone.
Right. Right.
With the hands and the
I
stuff.
kept looking and and then finally something came. I had to pull up like urban or urban culture, hand clap games and all that, and then it came up and said chants, and I was like, oh, no wonder we couldn't find it. But they hit the nail on the head with that one because that's what we did when we was not unattended, but your parents wasn't right there.
Right, you didn't need a supervisor or anything for that. I'm glad that I have memories of, certain things like that. Mississippi, that was just kind of like, our childhood memories. But when you think about it, like, with Mississippi and all of that other stuff, it's like, that was elementary school. And we were like 11 and 10 and 12. And, when little girls, they don't even really know what they're talking about. And they're basically talking about sexuality. And, talking about, I went around the corner with my and he said, and then at some point by junior high school, you actually meet boys and, still got those steps kind of like rolling in your head and you think you know something. So it's kind of like a premature sense of sexuality that stays with you because you think you know something even though you're just saying words.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, maybe that's part of the, I hate to say problem, but you 8 years old and you talking about, take my kukuleta, and then you get 13 and you're in middle school and you think you are a pro because you've been doing talking about that, and so here you go with a guy and then you end up pregnant at 15. So maybe I don't know. There might be some type of a correlation.
Then on some of those chants, it's so funny how like we look at it now. As I'm looking at it now, some of the chants they had. One of them, I can't remember all the words, but I know it was like "step back, white boy."
I get my in boy to kick your behind.
Was that some form of racism then? I don't know.
Wow.
But to us, it was just a chant.
But you know what? It wasn't racism then because you gotta remember it was a different time because white people were a threat. White people were a serious threat. I mean, like in 1978, Dr. King had only been dead for 10 years.
Yeah, that's true.
So that was like a different era.
Because when I looked on, that's what they were trying to say, like back in the day when we were doing this chant. Even though they were innocent to us, we wasn't making them like, as soon as I see a white boy, I'm going to sing this chant.
Right,
Step back, right? They were saying that, was it a form of racism then? But if it was innocent to us. It wasn't like we were trying to get this point across.
Right,
like,
no, we
you
weren't.
did this, Dr. King, we gonna sing these chants. No.
Right, no.
It was
just
childhood songs that we
Right.
used to partake in. When we were young, we spent a majority of our time outside playing with our friends and things like that. We didn't have access to the things that the kids are accessible to today. That's why a lot of kids are not outside. You don't see a whole lot of girls. I can't even remember the last time I seen girls outside playing double dutch. Hopscotch,
Right,
all that stuff.
Yeah, I never
tops.
see hopscotch. I see rope every once in a while, but it's like hopscotch is the easiest thing in the world. Number one, it's fun to ride on the street with y'all. You know, and it's cheap and fun, and it's an easy game to follow.
Yeah, most kids today, they on their iPhones, they got iPads, they got all this stuff. Wii, PlayStation 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever is out here these days.
Right.
All of these games. So majority of them are not outside. They inside. They playing their games or they on their phone. Channel. Then they got Skype, and they just got so much stuff that in our generation we didn't
It's
even
just
think
not a lot
of
of
that.
opportunity to just use your devices that you have, which is your brain and your hands and your body, and organize things that don't involve electronics and things.
And Mom said, come in here one more time and you gonna stay in. So you better think of something to do out there for the next 5 hours.
Right, do your steps, play hopscotch, race. I'm faster than you. Let's climb the pole.
We used to race. We used to play
Let's jump from the top step.
Remember all those
1, 2, 3,
games?
red.
1, 2, 3, red light. We used to have so many different hobble, comedy stuff. Then you do all the little hand games. So we had a whole lot of stuff.
Eeny, Dissalini.
Girl, we had, those were the days.
Yeah.
Those were the days. Times have truly changed. And on the step aspect, I'm glad it has changed because you gotta go run outside. I know you ain't doing a calculator. So I'm glad that part has changed. But I think kids do need to get out and be active and
They
play.
really do. I think it's going to come, at some point it's going to really start turning around, and at some point they're just going to have to start, because everything comes back around, they get so involved with electronics and this and that. At some point, and I think it is happening, like right now, that the movement, like with Michelle Obama trying to get kids to exercise and stuff.
Right.
It's slowly coming back around. The kids need to get outside and ride bikes and be
play.
active and play. Yeah.
I hope so.
You can take my L, my I, and my the letter I.